Okay, this problem is not nearly as lengthy as the other problem we did because there's no preferred dividends, there's no stock dividends, things like that. So it's pretty straightforward. So let's see. The first thing we need to know is that their net income was $340,000, and there are no preferred shareholders. So this all is available to common shareholders. So that now for the basic earnings per share, we need shares outstanding. Technically, we should use weighted average shares. We're not given weighted average shares or any other way to find it. So we take what we're given. That gives us 80 cents basic earnings per share. Now, tricky part on this one is we have to look at the fact how much of these options vest this year. Okay, so they tell us that they granted 45,000 no par shares, and the common shares have a market price of $15. So we have to come up with the approximate compensation expense. So that's 45,000 compensation cost, not expense, because it's only expensed year by year. 45,000 times $15, so that's 675,000 compensation cost. Now that's for 3 years. So $225,000 worth of proceeds are available per year. Take the total compensation cost, 45,000 times the 15 gives us the total cost of 675,000, but we have to divide that by the 3 years, and that gives us 225,000 per year. Okay, so now we say, okay, each year we have 225,000 shares. If we're doing fully diluted, we make pretend that everything that can dilute does, and does so at the beginning of the year. So first of all, let's see how many treasury shares we could have bought. Well, the shares are $15. So we divide that by $15, and we find that we could have bought 15,000 shares. So if we bought those 15,000 treasury shares, they would be in that 425,000. They'd be there, because once we sell treasury shares, they're gone. They're out in the market. Okay, so we've used up those. Okay, so we act as if we buy these shares. So they're in there. So there's 30,000 left because we granted 45,000. Grant 45. We act as if we bought 15,000. They're in there. We act as if all those proceeds were used to buy treasury shares. So instead of all those treasury shares, we got that money, we bought treasury shares, and then issued them to the option holders. So they're in there. So that means there's 30,000 that we still have to consider. So we add the 30,000 to the 425,000 that we had. Okay, we had 425,000 plus the 30,000 that we could not have bought and issued. We didn't have enough money. We had $225,000 in proceeds from the options. That's $15 each. That meant we could buy 15,000 shares. We did. We issued them to our executives. That's where they're in there. There's still 30,000 left outstanding. We have to consider those. They get added to our weighted average number of shares. We act as if we have 455,000, and when we take our 340, take our 340,000, divide now by 455,000, we come up with 75 cents per share. And mine looked weird because I left off some numbers. Let me give it to you, the real nine. We had 340,000. Divide that by 455,000. And we come up with 74.72 cents per share. 75 cents per share. The trick there was you had to figure out how much unexpensed compensation was still out there. Then you had to assume that you took the proceeds, bought the treasury shares.